Hi, it's Phyllis, and what's coming up is a bonus episode replay. This is an episode that I recorded and published, I believe, in April of 2025, pretty early on, and it was about Dolly Parton. And I described her, or as what I considered her at the time and still do, an ambassador of hope, and kind of shared why I feel that way about her. And in light of her recent passing, I just wanted to share it again just to really honor her and her memory and her life's work. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to your daily dose of hope. I'm Phyllis Nichols, and I'm glad you're here. Today, I want to talk about an ambassador of hope, or someone that I feel is an ambassador of hope, and that would be Dolly Parton. I once heard her referred to as American treasure, and I think that feels right. She's beloved by people, obviously in the country music world, but her popularity has exceeded way beyond country music and her Tennessee upbringing. She's a prolific songwriter and an astute businesswoman, and she made decisions that have proven to be very fortuitous for her. And she made those decisions early in her career when it just wasn't the norm for a woman, especially in the music business, to do those sorts of things. I consider her an ambassador of hope because she's always done things on her terms and with thoughtfulness for others. In 2023, she published a book called Behind the Seams, seams as in a dress seam. And it's all about the costumes and gowns and wigs and all of her clothes that she wore throughout the years. She writes a lot of comments on her favorites and who designed them and why and how they came to be. And she tells really interesting stories about where she wore some of them, like when she got to visit and meet Queen Elizabeth, or the gown she wore when she won her first country music award. It's an amazing book and it's beautifully photographed. But what also impressed me is that she still has all of these clothes. Right now, and for the last few years, one of her nieces is actually curating the clothes in the collection. But as a young musician and performer, way before she was the famous Dolly Parton that she is today, she had the presence of mind to keep the clothes that she wore, way before she was this big star. And I find that really hopeful. She came from humble beginnings, which, again, her story is well known, and she talks about this in the book too. And she also talks about why those humble beginnings is why she loves the big sparkly clothes and the high heels and the big wigs. She explains that they make her feel beautiful and they make her feel special. And over the years, people have tried to get her to tone down her look or change her style. And, she just wouldn't do it. And she goes on to say that she knows that her style's not for everyone. It's for her, though, and she definitely knows that about herself. She didn't care that she hasn't always been in style, I guess. And when people tried to encourage her to make changes, she just stuck to what she knew was right for her. And I think that's such a hopeful act. She did not know back in the 60s or 70s that she was going to be the Dolly Parton that we now all know and love. Or, you know what? Maybe she did. Maybe there was an inkling or a thought in her mind that I'm going to want this dress. I'm going to want this outfit. I'm going to want to hold on to this. And I just find that the most hopeful, life affirming thing. She's an interesting woman who's had huge success, and she's incredibly generous and charitable and kind. And it reminds me that when we're willing to be true to who we know who we are, we're true to ourselves, right? And do what we know is right for us, good things can happen. So I'd like to be more like Dolly, not the gowns or the wigs, of course, but honoring what I know is right for me and choosing to live my life on my terms. Because like Dolly, it's a hopeful, life-affirming choice. This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.